With general elections constitutionally due in 2021, do you have a valid voter identification card to participate? If you wish to renew your voter ID, your information with the Electoral Office of Jamaica (EOJ) will be updated or corrected if necessary. A new photograph will be taken and your fingerprint will be retaken if necessary. For those getting a voter ID for the first time, you will be asked to visit an EOJ office in the constituency where you reside, and personal information will be collected from you at that time. Once your address is verified, you will be issued a voter ID card. For more information on this process, visit ecj.com.jm. We continue today's Jamaica Magazine program with an important influenza advisory, followed by the news. Stay with us.
Protect yourself from the flu virus. Visit your nearest health center or doctor to get the flu vaccine. Cover your mouth and nose when coughing and sneezing. Wash your hands regularly with soap and water or by using an alcohol-based hand sanitizer. Avoid the spread of germs by not touching your eyes, mouth, or nose. And be sure to regularly disinfect surfaces and objects that are used often. Remember, your health is your responsibility.
Good day, I'm Stephen McHugh, and this is your JIS News for Monday, February 24. In the wake of last Friday's deadly fire at the Heavens Fesco gas station in Manchester, Energy Minister Favour Williams is assuring the country that additional safety regulations will soon be implemented for the petroleum sector.
We just recently completed, as in last week, our public consultation around some of these. So in short order, the industry will be hearing about the additional safety actions that came out of that Petroleum Review Committee.
The minister gave that assurance on the weekend as she met with the management and staff of the gas station. She disclosed that this particular gas station was inspected in September of last year and met the safety and operations regulations. While she commended those staff members who are reported to have acted to help, the Energy Minister also called on the sector to ensure all employees are properly trained to respond to similar incidents.
I'm calling on motorists who come to gas stations as well to obey the rules. When the service station attendant speaks to them about where to park, to get off their cell phones, not to have naked lights, in terms of cigarettes or, not to throw trash, all those things that from time to time may come to their attention.
One person died as a result of the fire and several others were injured. Minister Williams expressed condolences to those affected. She also commended the fire, police, and health professionals who responded to the incident and commended the gas station management for bringing in a psychologist to offer counseling to staff. During that meeting, the minister pointed out that persons should be wary of partial or false information spreading on social media and await the full report of what transpired. In other news, 100,000 vulnerable children in infant and primary schools across Jamaica will be given meals at no cost to them in the next fiscal year. This is 30,000 more than the 70,000 children being fed under the school feeding program during the current fiscal year, which ends on March 31. Minister with Oversight for Education Carl Samuda made the announcement recently.
This year, because of the increase in our budget, the Permanent Secretary advises me that she is reliably informed and will pursue an increase from 70,000 to 100,000 children. And these are children who are from very humble backgrounds, families very poor.
He was speaking at the signing of a Memorandum of Understanding by the Education Ministry, Nutrition Products Limited, and Restaurants of Jamaica. During the ceremony at the Mona Heights Primary School, Restaurants of Jamaica gave the ministry a $7.4 million donation through Nutrition Products Limited to provide meals under the program. The donation is expected to benefit 82 schools. Former Moneymusk sugar workers in Clarendon have received land leases under a government project to provide socio-economic alternatives to displaced sugar workers and their dependents. Last week, 15 farmers were given their leases for 2 to 3 acres of land at Hermitage in the parish. They are also to receive assistance from the National Irrigation Commission and technical support from the Rural Agricultural Development Authority, RADA. Training will also be provided along with inputs such as seeds, fertilizers, chemicals, and small tools and equipment. Agriculture State Minister Floyd Green is urging the participants to make good use of the opportunity.
There's a spirit that is in every single Jamaican, that if you give them the right opportunity, if you give them the ground, they will do well, they will thrive, and they will prosper. We are here to provide the ground for you to do well.
The State Minister used the function to announce that 30 district constables would be added to the Pradial Larceny Unit to prevent farm theft. He said agricultural wardens would also be reintroduced to ensure effective community policing.
We need more community-based policing if we're truly going to deal with Pradial Larceny. Because unfortunately, a lot of the people who involve themselves in Pradial Larceny are not strangers to the areas that they larcen from. Because you have to know a man movements to deal with that. But we also are strengthening our receipt book system.
The receipt book system requires any individual who purchases an animal or crops to have proof of purchase. Starting March 1, bike owners will be able to apply for a road license to operate a public passenger vehicle. These bike operators will be required to have helmets for themselves and their passengers and must go through a training period before being licensed. Transport Minister Robert Montego says this is to help reduce bike-related road traffic crashes and casualties.
Because of the 430 persons who died on our roads, bike riders and pillions accounted for 34%. It's a high amount, the largest single category. And 30% is 100 people died because of bike accident on our roads. And we have to do something about it.
The minister was speaking recently at the official opening ceremony of a Transport Authority satellite office. Government will be spending $90 million in the new fiscal year to upgrade and expand the Mount St. Joseph High School in Mandeville. It's being done as part of the Education Transformation Program, and funds are allocated in the 2020-2021 estimates of expenditure. These funds will be spent on the completion of a 6th form block. It will also cover the design and contracting of an auditorium, administrative building, and 3rd and 4th form blocks at the school. The National Education Trust Limited is implementing the project. And that's it for JIS News Today. I'm Stephen McHugh. Thanks for watching.
Domestic violence and abuse has always been going on. Say to victims, report the matter, seek help, go to your local police. There are persons who are trained in the various divisions to deal with domestic violence and domestic abuse. We have 2 centers that are currently operational. One is at the Matilda's Corner Police Station. You can call the Matilda's Corner Police Station for that. The other one is at Air 5 Headquarters. That's on the same compound as Constant Spring Police Station. The number is 702-5120 or 702-5121. Co-workers, neighbors, family members, don't sit silently and say, oh, I knew they were having difficulties, but I didn't know the extent. No. Seek help on their behalf and tell your victim or your friend who is the victim, say to them, listen, I want to help you and I'm going to help you, but I have to seek help outside of me.
The by-election for the Southeast Clarendon constituency is set for March 2, and nationally, general elections become constitutionally due next year. Watch as I share with you a timely reminder on how to cast your vote. Who are you voting for this election? Well, that's your secret. But knowing how to make sure your vote counts on election day is no private matter. But first you must know where to cast your vote and how to do it. Voting? Easy. But you must follow the correct steps to ensure a smooth electoral process and a valid vote. So guess what? Stay with us as we take you through the voting process.
Before Election Day, you will need to confirm that you are actually registered and therefore eligible to vote. You will also need to find out your polling division and the location of your polling station. Remember, you can only vote in the polling station that is designated for you. You can do this in 3 ways: by checking the printout of the voters list at your constituency office or post office, visiting the Electoral Office of Jamaica's website at www.ecj.com.jm, or by calling the EOJ toll-free at 1-888-991-VOTE. That's 1-888-991-8683. After confirming your registration, it's time to get ready to vote. Have your voter identification card at hand. You will need it on Election Day. If you have not yet collected it, please do so at your constituency office.
So it's Election Day. You know exactly where to cast your vote and you have your voter's identification card with you. Go to your designated polling station and join the line like I have done and wait until it's your turn at the voting booth.
It is often said that the early bird catches the most worms, but sometimes being not so early works in your favor. Most Jamaicans vote during the first 2 hours of polling and the last hour before the polls close, resulting in long lines. So if you want to avoid the wait, it's a good idea to vote during the off-peak hours between 10 a.m. and 4 p.m.
So now it's your turn to cast your vote. Wait for the presiding officer to acknowledge you.
Next person, please. Good day, sir.
Good day.
May I please have your name and your voter's ID?
Adrian Atkinson.
Thank you very much.
Forgot to bring your voter's ID card? You will still be allowed to vote once your name can be found on the voters list and your identity can be confirmed. However, the process to confirm you is quite lengthy, so to avoid delays, remember to bring your card on Election Day. Once your identity has been confirmed and your name has been found on the list, the presiding officer will then examine your fingers and hands for any traces of electoral ink using the integrity lamp. If your polling station is using EVBIS, that is the Electronic Voter Identification and Ballot Issuing System, you will be asked to place a specific finger on a fingerprint scanner. This scanner uses your fingerprint to confirm your identity.
Can I check your fingerprints, please?
Once your identity has been verified, you'll be issued a ballot. Listen carefully to the instructions given because if you don't record your vote correctly, it may not be counted.
Mr. Atkinson, you are eligible to vote.
Thank you.
This is your ballot paper with the names of 2 candidates, Matthew Marks and Luke Johns. Please go behind the voting booth and place your X beside the symbol for the candidate of your choice using the pencil provided. I am folding your ballot paper twice. Please return it to me folded in the same manner to protect the secrecy of your vote.
Once you have been issued your ballot, it's time to vote. Go behind the voting booth and using the pencil provided, clearly mark an X in the space beside the symbol of the candidate of your choice. Refold the ballot twice as instructed by the presiding officer, leaving the flap out to protect the secrecy of your vote. Do not show your vote to anyone. Otherwise, your ballot will be declared spoilt and you will have to vote again.
Thank you, Mr. Atkinson. Check, serial number return. Mr. Atkinson, please dip your right index finger in the ink. This way.
Be sure to watch while your unopened ballot is placed in the ballot box.
Once you have witnessed your ballot being placed into the ballot box, the voting process is complete. You should now leave the polling station in a peaceful manner.
Next person, please.
Congratulations, you've just voted. But here are a few more things to keep in mind on election day.
You can only vote if your name is on the voters list. If you make a mistake, you may request another ballot from the presiding officer. Your original ballot will be spoilt and you will be issued a new one. The use of cellular telephones or image capturing devices is strictly prohibited inside the polling stations. You may not remove ballot papers from the polling station. Your ballot is secret. It should not be shown to anyone. For further information on the voting process, visit the ECJ's website at www.ecj.com.jm or call toll-free at 1-888-991-VOTE. That's 1-888-991-8683.
Your vote is your voice. Make it count. Today we celebrate the 136th anniversary of the birth of national hero Sir Alexander Bustamante. Sir Alexander served as the island's first Prime Minister upon the country gaining independence on August 6, 1962. Watch as we highlight his indelible contribution to Jamaica land we love.
One of the great movers and shakers of Jamaica's development. A hero in the eyes of a nation, he worked hard to improve and protect from many injustices within his time. Alexander Bustamante knew what was required to improve the plight of the common man and tried to make that happen.
What we need in this island is not more men, but more men with courage, with the spirit of fighting for justice for all, and more so for the less fortunate, independent men who will sacrifice their own interests for their unfortunate sisters and brothers.
His heroic life journey began in the small rural district of Blenheim in Hanover. Here, in this small cottage nestled in the cool hills, the son of Robert and Mary Clark was born. It was February 24, 1884. He was named William Alexander Clark. Young Alexander was among other young men who were forced to seek employment abroad when jobs in Jamaica proved scarce. He had changed his surname from Clark to Bustamante by the time he returned to Jamaica in 1933. It was after starting a money-lending business in Jamaica that he became fully aware of the harsh reality of poverty faced by most Jamaicans.
Low wages, bad working conditions. People were not regarded as people. They were just factors of production.
Bustamante chose to preoccupy himself with improving the prevailing conditions. He began with writing numerous letters to the Daily Gleaner and occasionally to British papers as a means of exposing the extremely bad social and economic conditions of the masses.
He made it known that human beings were not supposed to work under conditions where the wages were so low that they were unable to feed themselves and to feed their children.
By the time he was near his 50th year, Bustamante's advocacy had evolved, with him becoming an active mediator in workers' strikes. Something new was happening in Jamaica, in which he would play a central role. The poor and oppressed had passed the stage where they could be bullied into submission by the guns and bayonets of the then colonial forces. Bustamante's voice grew loud in support of the workers' struggles and in contempt of the governing authority. His speeches, mediating and organizing activities slowly replaced the people's disorganized resentment to the oppressive forces of the colonial government with organized resistance. The charismatic, influential speaker drew large crowds at union rallies and organized and supported numerous strikes. In May 1938, he founded the Bustamante Industrial Trade Union, BITU. He had grown into a strong political figure and began working with his cousin Norman Manley and others to form a new political movement, the People's National Party, PNP. At the same time, his clashes with the authorities continued, and on September 8, 1940, Bustamante was detained at Oak Park Camp for the alleged violation of the Defense of the Realm Act. He was released in 1942 and soon after successfully formed his own political body in the form of the Jamaica Labour Party in 1943. The next year, universal adult suffrage was instituted, allowing all Jamaicans the right to vote. In the December 1944 general election that followed, Bustamante's JLP won the majority of the 32 seats in the House of Representatives.
Because of the great work he did as a trade unionist, it was not difficult for him to get the people together to vote for him.
At his second victory at the polls in 1949, Bustamante became the unofficial government leader as Minister for Communication until the position of Chief Minister was created in 1953. In late 1953, Bustamante was honored by Britain's Queen with the title Knight Bachelor and was addressed Sir Bustamante. He was named Jamaica's first Prime Minister when the country gained independence from Britain in 1962. And later that year, married longtime associate and union colleague Gladys Longbridge. Sir William Alexander Bustamante received the Order of National Hero of Jamaica in 1969 for his immense contribution to Jamaica's politics and dedication to improving the conditions of workers. He died at the age of 93 on August 6, 1977.
Did you know that you can apply for a copy of your birth certificate online or by visiting any of the Registrar General's Department offices listed on their website? For ease of processing, there are several things you need to know about the person or child whose birth certificate you are applying for. Here's a checklist. Ensure you know the correct name and spelling of the person, as well as their mother and father. You will need their date and place of birth, which is usually the name of the hospital or location they were born. Parish of birth is also important. Find out also the birth entry number along with the date and place of registration for the adult or child. Remember, for additional information on how you can apply for a copy of your birth certificate or someone else's, contact the Registrar General's Department today.
As we gear up to raise awareness on colorectal cancer in March, we encourage you to check for these warning signs.
The gastrointestinal tract is a system of organs working together to support the human body. It takes food, digests it, absorbs energy and nutrients, and then removes waste through urine and feces. The esophagus, stomach, pancreas, liver, and colon are all part of this system, and studies show that cancer of these vital organs are becoming increasingly common in Jamaica. One of the leading causes of death among Jamaican men and women is colon cancer. cancer does not discriminate. It's the third most common cause of cancer-related death among Jamaican men and women. But like most lifestyle-related illnesses, you have the power to reduce your risk of developing colon cancer as well as prevent it from occurring. An unhealthy diet, smoking, obesity, alcohol use all increase one's risk for colon cancer.
Everyone is at some risk for colon cancer because everyone has a colon. But some individuals are at higher risk for colon cancer, depending on, for example, their diet or lifestyle. So a diet which is very high in processed meat, a diet which is high in fat, a diet which is low in fiber, these all increase your risk for colon cancer.
Other risk factors include persons with pre-existing medical conditions such as inflammatory bowel disease and ulcerative colitis. The risk level of persons with these diseases increases after 10 years. Therefore, active screening is a necessity. Unfortunately, signs and symptoms of colon cancer often mimic other diseases such as inflammatory bowel disease and irritable bowel syndrome. That's why it's crucial that there's early screening. So visit your doctor if you experience dark or bloody stool, rectal bleeding, diarrhea, constipation, bowel incontinence or narrowing of the stool that goes beyond a few days, belly pain, anemia, vomiting or unexplained weight loss.
You can develop a screening protocol in an individual depending on their risk.
It's recommended that colon cancer screening starts between the ages of 45 and 50 years old. The simplest screening tool is a stool test for blood at a local laboratory.
So this is not you looking to see if there's blood in the stool. This is you going to your doctor at the appropriate age. Your doctor sends you to the lab to get a stool sample tested to see if there is a microscopic amount of blood. This is the first sign usually that there is something called a polyp inside the colon. So the polyp is what's known as a precancerous stage. So it's not cancer itself, but we do know that a significant number of cancers will develop in individuals who have had a polyp. And the objective is to find the polyp and remove it before it gets a chance to become cancerous.
If a polyp is found, the next step in the screening process would involve a colonoscopy. In this procedure, a doctor would place a small camera into the bowel to check for the polyp and remove it if present.
We can do other screening tests. The barium enema is not as popular anymore, but it's still possible and is accessible and available, which is an X-ray involving some dye inside the bowel as well to look to see if there's anything growing there. A CT scan of the bowel can also be done as a screening tool to look to see if you have any polyps, which can then be removed at colonoscopy. Outside of screening for the colon, you may also want to try and reduce your risk by modifying your lifestyle. So stopping smoking, reducing your alcohol consumption, and eliminating processed meat in the diet are all important risk factors which can be modified to reduce the risk of colon cancer.
And this is where we leave you on today's magazine. Thanks so much for journeying with us. As we go, we encourage you to stay connected via our website, jis.gov.jm, or our YouTube channel. And while you're online, send your feedback to Jamaica Magazine at jis.gov.jm. Connect with us on social media and download our mobile app. On behalf of the entire production crew, I'm Adrian Atkinson. Thanks for watching.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.